In one game, you'll be telling the story of your own death, and in another, you'll have to fight off billions, and I do mean billions, of zombies. This is 7 of the best zombie survival games. Alrighty, first up on our list today is going to be Killing Floor 2. Killing Floor 2 is a round and session-based co-op PvE survival game that allows you to play with up to 6 players. In each session, you will have to survive as many rounds as possible to generate experience and money. The money that you earn can then be spent in between rounds to buy better weapons and other survival tools so that you can survive in the later rounds. You see, as the rounds go on, they will get increasingly difficult until you reach the final round of whatever map or difficulty you happen to be playing on. The final round will have one of several different bosses for you to deal with, and each one of them will have their own unique abilities that require you to handle them differently.
Left hand! Scheiße! Didn't like that, did you?
You'll also have the option to play several different classes within the game. These include things like the medic, the firebug, and the brawler, all of which bring different skill sets and even different weapon types to the table that they're able to wield. Each of these classes will then level up in between sessions. Those levels can then be used to upgrade that class's passive abilities and thus make it easier for you to handle higher difficulties in your games. At the end of the day, Killing Floor 2 will require a lot of teamwork, especially on the higher levels, and it is definitely not a one-man show kind of a game. It will even require an absolutely ridiculous amount of coordination between you and your teammates, especially when playing on the higher difficulties. Before we move on, I do want to mention that there is some paid DLC that will unlock specific weapons or other items within the game. However, if you don't mind having a little bit of that in your game, then this is a great game for you to check out. Following that is Back 4 Blood. Back 4 Blood is the PvE survival game that is trying to be sort of a spiritual successor to the infamously popular Left 4 Dead franchise. In this game, you will have to try and reach the end of a level alive with as many players intact as possible. Throughout each level, you will be assaulted by what can feel like a nearly endless number of normal and special infected zombies. Along the way through each of these levels though, you will find that there are a number of different weapons, and each of them have their own rarity and attachments to go with it. At the end of a run though, you won't be keeping any of the gear that you have found, but instead will gain something called supply points. These supply points can be spent to unlock new cards and cosmetics in between your games. Each of those cards that you unlock will give you some sort of a passive buff to make your next run just a little bit easier. These could be things like faster reloads, the ability to carry more ammo, more move speed, or just simply increasing the amount of damage you deal. As you continue to unlock more cards and progress through the game, you'll be able to unlock higher difficulties, which will be made easier by having better cards. I think it's fair to say though that no matter how good your cards get and how lucky your loot is, that almost every run will be decided based on how well your team of up to 4 players is able to work together. Thus, this game is going to require, just like the previous one, a lot of teamwork and coordination. After that is DayZ. DayZ is one of, if not the most well-known open-world PvPvE zombie survival game that is out on the market. I even think most people would agree with the statement that it is the father of the zombie survival genre. You see, DayZ was originally just a mod for Arma, but one day it birthed its own standalone game. Unfortunately, at its start it had many different issues with its development that can even still be seen within the game today. These include things like numerous bugs and an extreme lack of explanation of gameplay features for its players. We're talking about things as simple as just how to run, craft, or even cook within the game. With that being said though, many have fallen head over heels in love with DayZ, and rightfully so. You see, if you can get over the hurdles required to learn the game, then you will quickly find that DayZ has easily one of the most expansive worlds available for you to play. There are tons of different weapons, vehicles, and other survival mechanics for you to engage with that create a very in-depth experience that few, if any, survival games have to offer on the market. To top all of that off, DayZ also has one of the most dedicated player bases and a great modding community to make things even better. Therefore, you can be sure that if you do take the time to learn the game and find it enjoyable, that DayZ will have a good sized player base for you to enjoy the game with for the foreseeable future. Following that is They Are Billions. They Are Billions is a little bit different than your standard survival game experience because of the fact that it's an RTS survival game. Now, while the idea of a survival RTS game isn't something totally new, They Are Billions has executed it in what I would argue is one of the best ways possible. The game focuses on you just simply trying to survive as many zombie waves as you possibly can between its survival and campaign modes. In the campaign mode, you will have to learn how to make different items as you progress to ever increasingly difficult maps. Each map also usually has some sort of theme to it as you progress through the different stages, such as one map where zombies only come from a single direction, but they come in extremely large numbers and they come very quickly. However, the real game is arguably in the survival game mode though, as this is where you will have to survive what seems like a nearly endless amount of zombies that would be far too many to count by hand. In this mode, you will have procedurally generated maps and difficulty settings that can make the game incredibly difficult extremely fast. You'll of course have everything unlocked within the survival game mode, but that doesn't mean you'll have everything researched within that game. So you will have to try and expand outwards to give yourself more space to create defenses, get more resources, and eventually research everything that you'll need to stand up to the might of screen-filling zombies. Next is SCUM. SCUM is an open world survival game with not only zombies, but mechs, other players, and a lack of vitamins all standing in your way. This is a survival game with all your traditional survival elements, but a hyper focus on your nutrition. Just to give you a taste of what I'm talking about, you'll have to manage different vitamin levels in order to keep your survivor in tip-top shape and ready to fight anything that comes his or her way. There's literally a whole entire in-depth menu system designed to tell you exactly how high or how low all of the different levels of vitamins you actually have are. SCUM even goes so far as to force you to take the Call of Duty. That means, yes, you will be forced to take a poo mid-combat if you don't prepare by dropping a load or just taking a leak ahead of time. My favorite part about this system is that it even has different consistencies in your poo based on your health, so don't be eating too much fiber. Aside from the hyper-focus on nutritional elements though, you have everything you could ask for in a standard survival experience. It's got your cars, your planes, your clothes, your armor, your medicine system, your base building, points of interest to loot and attract players together, mechs to defend high loot areas, and of course everyone's favorite, tons of weapon options. At the end of the day, SCUM can be played in only a PvE mode, but it's definitely a PvP focused game, so I would recommend that if you do pick up this game that you check out the PvP side as it's got a lot more to offer. Alrighty, we are almost there now with 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die is an open world PvE survival game where you will have to survive against a threat that will grow in difficulty every 7 days. The core premise of the game is that every 7th night you will be attacked by a horde of zombies and will thus have to survive until daybreak or until you've just cleared the entire wave. The difficulty ramp will start to get a bit crazy even on normal difficulties, to the point at which eventually almost every base will fall at some point in time. There's also a very large variety of enemies, such as cops who will spit little goo chunks at you, vultures who will try to attack you from the sky, zombies with explosives strapped to them, and of course your stereotypical standardized zombies. There is also a whole leveling system within the game that lets you specialize into different sorts of things, such as turrets, melee, or just specific weapon types. There's even a PvP community, but most of the game is focused on co-op or solo play, so it's really not that prevalent. At the end of the day though, I think 7 Days to Die is one of the best zombie games out there on the market, since it allows you to do whatever you want, kind of in the sense that Minecraft does, because you can build and design all sorts of weird traps, mazes, and bases to help you survive those zombie waves. Now, before we move into our final game today, I do have some honorable mentions for you. These games may or may not be considered zombie survival games, but they are all still good zombie games nonetheless. The first honorable mention I have for you is Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2 is basically a super parkour-heavy zombie survival game. If you've never checked out the series before, just know if there's anything you want to do parkour-related, then this would be the equivalent of playing Assassin's Creed in a zombie apocalypse. Following that is State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 is a rather old game at this point in time, but nonetheless is still a really solid one. It has you building up your own encampment of survivors and trying to increase the strength of that encampment while you obliterate all the zombies in your path in order to make it safe not only for you, but the colony that you're trying to build. And the last honorable mention I have for you today is DayZ Gone. DayZ Gone is a really fun zombie survival game that plays very much like Skyrim would if it was in a zombie apocalypse. You've got tons of different weapon options, but the game has a major focus around your motorcycle, which you use to get around the map, almost in a way like your horses in Red Dead Redemption 2. At the end of the day, all of these are really good zombie games, but it's arguable whether or not they're actually survival games, which is why they're on the honorable mentions list. Alrighty, and for our final pick, we chose Project Zomboid. Project Zomboid is a primarily PvE game where you will get to test your own zombie survival ideas. The whole premise, though, is that you will eventually die, and this is the story of how it will happen. Thus, the whole idea of a one-life system. This means if you die at any point in time, that character is lost and gone for good. You could decide to build up in a home and secure up the windows, or even maybe survive in the woods where less zombies roam, but resources are just a bit more scarce. The idea is that no matter what you do, eventually a zombie will catch you off guard, or you will get trapped by a horde, and all it takes is just that one bite for it to be game over. The game world is rather expansive, and you'll have to loot houses, stores, cars, warehouses, and just about everything in between in order to survive. At some points, you may find yourself trying to be stealthy and creep around as to not attract as many zombies, while other times you'll find yourself being swarmed and with no other option than to simply run or shoot your way through. While the game isn't perfect, it has just about every item you might think you could need or use in a zombie apocalypse. Everything from collecting sheets so that you can cover your windows to building your own furniture out of destroyed items are all within this game. An important thing to note, though, is that your character also has their own leveling system for all sorts of skills. These include things like medicine, carpentry, shooting, stabbing, cooking, and much more. The idea is that you can customize your character to whatever extent you want, and while you play, you can continue to do so by leveling each one of your different skills. Therefore, I think it's really safe to say that Project Zomboid has just about everything you'd want in a zombie survival experience. While some people might be turned off by the graphics a little bit, I still think it's one of the best games on the market if you're looking for a zombie survival game. And that's going to wrap up the video. If you guys want to get more of an in-depth review of each of these games, or any one in particular you might be thinking about buying, go ahead and check them out on our channel, as we did put out reviews for each and every one of these. Otherwise, I do want to give a big shout out to our Platinum and Above members, Jim Phillips and Jonathan S., for helping to support our channel. If you guys would like to help support us, you can do so with the join button down below, but otherwise, just thank you so much for watching this video, and consider subscribing for more survival game content. I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you next time.